Yo, what's good? Live on a Sunday. We're talking some Jimmy Butler today, how he changed the state of the Golden State Warriors, and why my belief is that he's not slowing down at the very least this season or really anytime soon. That's on today's show.
You are Locked On Warriors,
Stop trying to turn the page on us so fast.
your daily Golden State Warriors podcast.
We got 4 championships.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Every team has a chance if Steph's on the team.
Your team every day.
What's good, everyone? Welcome to Locked On Warriors. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We appreciate you very much for making us a part of your day whenever and wherever you're listening. You can check us out on YouTube. It's global. You can also check us out wherever you get your audio podcast to take us on the go. My name's Charlie Walter. Credentials, 95.7 The Game, formerly in the Bay Area. That's the flagship station of the Golden State Warriors, and cover the team for CBS News Bay Area. The call letters there, if you've seen them, KPIX, saw a championship in 21-22 and covered the Warriors for 3 seasons for that television station. All right, let's get into today's show. There's going to be a lot of Jimmy Butler. There's an article that I want to dissect about what makes Steph Curry so great in comparison to Joey Votto. And of course, with the roots, I had to dissect that a little bit. And there was an example from this past season that I really think fits into that story as a whole. And also, I guess not also, the rumor season continues on. And so that's where we start. Seagull bombs. If you consume NBA content in the offseason, many people, they go on to baseball, they take a hiatus. When the big news comes, they have the Shams notification set on X, whatever. But for the most part, if you follow the NBA, you've heard of a Siegel bomb. Maybe you've never heard it in this light, but it's this guy, Brett Siegel, who is a Clutch Points reporter, and apparently he knows everything about everyone because there's always something brought up in the offseason. It's not quite a Woj bomb where it's confirmed. It's actually quite the contrary. A Siegel bomb is a rumor that so far that I've seen 100% of the time has never come true, but eventually he's going to get one. And as a podcaster in the off season, the clickbait always gets me. I click on it in the source, the Siegel bomb. But he's the only guy that's reporting stuff this time of the year. So we will run with what he has for now, because I've heard it, at least rumblings for a minute now, that the Warriors could potentially be interested in the name. In a sense, does make a little bit of reasoning for the Golden State Warriors. So here's what the lineup would look like. And yes, that is not the tease, that's just the full giveaway. Kristaps Porzingis, the unicorn, to the Bay Area to give the Warriors a lineup of Curry, Butler, Green, Porzingis, and then whether it's Pods, Buddy, or Moody at the shooting guard position. Looks decent on paper. One issue, before we get to the issue, the quote: the Golden State Warriors have long been viewed as a potential destination for Porzingis, even before he joined Boston in 2023. It's not a secret to anyone that the Warriors need front court production. We heard Draymond Green on his podcast with Baron Davis confirm what Steve Kerr said, saying, no, thank you to the center position. Porzingis is 7'2". He would help out there. Also, the shooting, shot 41% last year. He's a legit sharpshooter for a big. You add him to the fold, it takes a lot of the pressure off Quentin Post. So Siegel wrote that the Warriors were heavily linked to Nikola Vucevic at the deadline. The team went after Jimmy Butler instead. Could they open this wormhole again? Does not carry any long-term financial restraints. Could fill an immediate gap. The fit makes sense, but Porzingis' health is the top concerns many teams share at this time. Here is my issue with all this. Injured so often. To end last season, in the playoffs rather, it was a respiratory infection that kept him out of the playoffs. He didn't really know what it was, a lingering virus. He's not able to play, or when he plays, he's not able to be effective. He was a no-show pretty much in that final series against New York. Take away that, and he hasn't played more than 60 games more than a handful of times in his career. I mean, 50 is the magic number for him. if you're signing Kuminga, or rather trade Kuminga for Porzingis, he comes in at 30 million flat. That's another expensive player. So leave your thoughts on the deal in the comments. But from a fit perspective, can we please get another Buddy Hield? I'm not talking just shooting. I'm talking someone that's going to play 82 games. Can we get an Iron Man loon? The players that'll play 50, potentially 60 is like a miracle in a season. This roster needs a sure thing. You could go for DeAnthony Melton as your cheap injury flyer and get someone who plays. Porzingis played 42 a season ago. Siegel, if you want more of some of the rumor mills that he has, he does say that the league sources are insistent the Celtics have zero indications that they would be parting ways with Derek White. So for those of you that want Derek White, according to the Siegel bomb, he is off the table. Porzingis could potentially be on the table. Leave in the comments if you think that would be wise for the Warriors at all. Now, the fit, don't know about the fit just because of the injury thing. But when you stack him up in a lineup where he can shoot from deep, Butler gets into the lane like we saw so much in the playoffs when he did have the spacing, instead of kicking it out to GP2 in a lineup, you kick it out to Kristaps Porzingis, and then you go a little inside out. He could play down low. He's a legit 7'2". He's huge. He's hurt the Warriors in the past. Makes a little sense in that regard, and would be one of those trades where if the Warriors can somehow make it work and fit his $30 million in there financially, and Porzingis all of a sudden goes for 75 games, which would be absurd. He wouldn't because of load management with the injuries in the past. But if he could go for 65 and play an entire playoffs, that's the type of move that pays off and could be massive if the Warriors gamble that way. But I just don't see any way that you can do that right now with some of the older players that you have. Porzingis, young for the most part, not on the other side of 30, but his body feels like he's about 35 at this point. You see, when you go up and down his injury history, it's like ankle, knee, head, eyes, head, shoulders, knees and toes, eyes, ear, mouth, nose. I didn't even say a real body part there. Earth. Not the ears, the earth. So Porzingis, I don't know if he's the missing piece. And he's not the missing piece because the Warriors found their missing piece. It was Jimmy Butler. Last offseason was so much different than this one in the sense that the Warriors had to completely pivot. They had to do something. They were dead in the water. Steve Kerr admitted as much in his interview the other day with Tim Kawakami. They just did not have the pieces to fit the puzzle that would make them a serious contending team. Jimmy Butler comes in 23-8, win a first round, win the first game of the second round. Steph Curry gets injured. Everything gets debunked. But that was your missing piece. Now you have to change things around the peripherals. Although I will say, if you could somehow turn Jonathan Kuminga, someone that you're not going to play, we've all acknowledged this. Draymond Green went on his podcast, and it felt like he was saying bye too. I stand behind Steve Kerr is pretty much what he said. There can be a mutually exclusive ordeal where this player is exceptionally talented and can shine elsewhere, but the coach can also be right that he may not fit in here. Now, Green did say that we don't know whether – I don't think Steve's right in that sense because we don't know whether Kuminga could fit in here. We haven't seen it enough. And if Kuminga were to return, we've heard that that would be the plan. See it enough to know whether it could work. But my money's on the table. You're giving me even odds. Jonathan Kuminga is probably out the door, in my opinion, fair or not. So Porzingis, if you could turn him into that, does add a lot of things that you could use. And he is talented and he is young enough, but injuries, man, injuries, they're scary. We just saw it derail the team in the playoffs. The teams right now that are alive, they don't have injuries. They are healthy, and the majority of them are young. And Porzingis, young for the most part, but it doesn't feel like his body is young at this point with some of the injuries that he's had. So I don't know. Again, leave your answers in the comments there. Jimmy Butler, the deep dive on him, an interview on the TK show where Steve Kerr talked extensively about Butler, how he has changed, not only the present, but also the outlook of the Golden State Warriors moving forward the next couple of years. That's ahead on Locked On Warriors. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, your investments, and spending in one place. So stop managing your money and start building your wealth. When I started using Monarch Money, the first thing I realized were all the subscriptions I was involved in, some that I had not watched or turned on in the last couple of years, some that I didn't even know I signed up for in the first place. They give you all that, how much you're spending, how much you could be saving. It's got easy collaboration tools to share the app with your partner, all-in-one convenience where you can juggle multiple apps to check your finances, or instead of juggling your apps, rather, that's what you used to do. You have this in one app that juggles everything: finances, spending, long-term goals. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Let's get back to the show. Steve Kerr admitted that when Jimmy Butler came, the Warriors were dead in the water. Before he arrived, Warriors were finito. 23-8 was the Warriors' record after a 24-25 start. So 24-25 pre-Jimmy Butler, 23-8 plus a playoff series win in 7 games after he comes to the team. Do not confuse Jimmy Butler running out of gas and space on the court with approaching wash status. This guy is nowhere near washed. His game is the antithesis of being washed early because it's a game based on IQ. It's a game based on knowing where to be. It's a game based on passing, things that you don't lose. I mean, I just watched a highlight video of Butler's days from the Chicago Bulls yesterday, and it is very clear that he does not have the pep in his step that he once did. The dynamic movements, the mobility, the just high-flying capabilities, and just that spark that he has when he moves, he doesn't have anymore. Like, he has aged. And the fact that he has aged and did what he did in the playoffs last year, and you say, Chuck, he struggled in the Minnesota series mightily. Okay. The spacing, that was a serious issue. Curry goes down. He was never the same. The numbers back it up. Also, a very sore butt after he has that pelvic contusion. That matters. I mean, the numbers don't lie, everyone. His best games of the season, and granted, there may have been one that I'm missing, but for the most part, his best games came in the last month. Let's start with the bottom first, for those of you seeing on YouTube. That play-in game against Memphis. Have we forgot he went for 38, 7, and 6? Did we forget he went for 33, 7, and 6 against Minnesota in game 3, a must-win game? Went for 33, struggled late, ran out of gas, ran out of spacing. Let's not forget Jaden McDaniels is on him and Rudy Gobert is patrolling the paint. If he has no one to kick it out to, that's a recipe for disaster. He did what he could. He went for 27, 9, and 8 against Houston. In fact, he went for 27 a couple times. He went for 25. He went for 20. And then against the LA Clippers in that must-win to avoid the play-in on the last game of the season, he went for 30 points and 9 rebounds. I don't understand how you can sit here and think that he's potentially hitting wash status. Not at all. He's flirting triple doubles. I cannot argue with what Steve Kerr is saying when he says that the 23-8 that followed Butler's arrival is not on accident. There's a reason why the team went 23-8. There's a reason why the defense got way better and they didn't change any schemes. It's because Jimmy Butler controlling the game allows him to settle down, get the defense set up. And as Steve Kerr said, everything made sense once Butler joined. It made sense for everyone else. And you saw it with the role players playing significantly better when he joined the team. When Curry goes down, it's clear that those two have to be together for it to work. Butler being the leader and not really having anyone else at all-star caliber level at this point, aside from, a first-team all-defender. You get that, and it looks like a team that would not have gotten out of the first round and maybe wouldn't have gotten out of the play-in. So Steph Curry is obviously a huge part of this. We'll get to Steph Curry in just a little bit. In this interview, though, with Tim Kawakami, we got a glimpse of how Jimmy came to be about. So we found out the Durant trade fell through. So that was real. And at this point, I think it's been confirmed, but that was 1,000% real. Dunleavy calls up Kerr, says, we're going after Jimmy Butler. I can vouch for this guy. We played together in Chicago. The guy's a gamer. And Steve Kerr at this point, like he had just turned over the keys to Jonathan Kuminga weeks prior. They've done everything. They changed rotations how many times at the beginning of the year with the strength and numbers mentality where he was running 13 deep, it felt like, to start. He's like, you know what? Go for it. We need a shakeup. I don't know anything about him. Kerr literally was asked whether he thought Jimmy would be this good. Because remember, he was visibly shook when Wiggins was traded and stated that he didn't really know Jimmy at all. They asked, like, what do you know about Jimmy Butler? Not much. I've never met Jimmy. But from even the personality fit, it was never an issue. Eric Spoelstra, who obviously is on the same staff as Kerr with Team USA, they know each other very well. Spoelstra gave Kerr a call, said, you're going to love this guy. Didn't work out in Miami towards the end, but you're going to love him. He's exactly what you guys need and your type of player. But from the insert one player and everything changes perspective, he didn't expect this. I didn't expect this. Co-host Matt Kolsky, I mean, give him his flowers. He said Jimmy would change the entire formula. That's what makes a good GM. So shouts to Mike Dunleavy there. And if Joe Lacob had his way, it could be Kuminga and Wiseman running the show right now. But Mike Dunleavy steps in and says, we're going after Jimmy Butler, old or not. This guy can help us get over the top. And we've seen that this team heading into this offseason now is close. Is close. Now, how much better is the league going to get? That obviously matters. But in terms of just being up there, giving yourselves a chance to dance, they are somewhat close. And the reason that Kerr didn't expect all this from Jimmy Butler is because Jimmy's somewhat of a subtle superstar. From a skill and athletic standpoint, he doesn't really jump off the page. I mentioned he did at one point for the Bulls back in the day. I mean, he had a spark to him. That spark now is a little more power. It's just IQ. It's being strong. I mean, absolutely strong as an ox. Good footwork. Smart like Iguodala. That's the player that Kerr's mentioned so many times, but a better offensive player than Andre. A great passer. And you know what Kerr says? A good pass unlocks an offensive possession, and a couple good passes gets your defense set up, and it connects the game. He loves the word connects. Loves the word connects. So shout out to Mike Dunleavy for making that move. But the question was brought up, is Jimmy Butler too passive? Leave your comments on whether he's too passive. I said it so many times in the playoffs that it felt like he can take over a game at will. He gets within 4 feet of the basket. I guess in his mind, it's not a good look. To the naked eye, it's like, dude, you're 4 feet away, regardless of who you have on you. Put it up and let's get an offensive board. Let's put some pressure on the rim. And instead, he kicks it out to a wide open GP2 or a wide open Draymond for an open 3. Okay, I mean, technically, that's the smart basketball play. But in this sense, where we saw the numbers from Jimmy Butler, I'll throw him up again. Some of the games that he had down the stretch of the season. I mean, he's capable of going for 38, 33, 27, 30. Shoot the basketball. Dwayne Wade agrees. He recently brought up the former Miami Heat legend, D. Wade, and the Marquette legend, who, I mean, both of those two have something in common, right? I guess Jimmy was a Buzz Williams guy. Tom Crean was the coach for Dwayne Wade. But aside from that, you know, a lot of similarities there. And Dwayne Wade said that even the best playoff Jimmy moments from the past were followed up with times like the NBA championship against the Nuggets, where he just didn't approach the game with the takeover mentality. He was too passive. You're being paid all this to take over a game. And there's a lot of ways you could take over a game. Finding teammates like Caleb Martin, for example, in Miami. He got Caleb Martin paid with some of his assists in that series and just his ability to get to the rim, to collapse the defense and then kick it out to Martin and just in general, give Caleb Martin the opportunities. And Martin hasn't been the same player for the most part since that season. But Kerr was asked about the passive sometimes play that Jimmy has. And Kerr said we shouldn't try to change Jimmy Butler's approach. He's not even going to talk to Jimmy about it. He said that Jimmy's unique to himself. And he brought up LeBron James in Cleveland as a comparison, basically saying that during LeBron's first few seasons, Zildjius Ilgauskas, Big Z, and Anders and Varejao, and Hughes, and whoever else was on that team pre-Kevin Love, pre-Kyrie, where LeBron was taking them to conference finals and NBA championships, but not winning. This is pre any titles that he had before he goes down takes his talents to South Beach and wins some with the Miami Heat. Before that, basically they said, like, crunch time, where are you, LeBron? Like, you're passing it up to a wide open, whoever it may be, standing around the perimeter, kicking it out to Kyle Korver. It's a great shot, right? Kicking it out to a wide open Korver. But basically, that was the argument there. Like, you got to take over. You're the best player on the floor. You're the best scorer on the floor. Like, sometimes the best basketball play isn't always what we want for this team. But Steve Kerr basically said, like, look, that's up for Jimmy to decide. He makes the right play. What he thinks is the right play. He doesn't turn it over often. And you shouldn't question his approach to the game. But when it comes to how you can help his approach to the game, knowing that Jimmy Butler loves passing, you got to find better spacing around him and better players that fit the system. Because Kerr said that McDaniels and Gobert just stayed home. They said Warriors are going to beat us inside the 3-point line. They're not going to do outside the 3-point line. They're not going to do their damage with Kuminga and Butler, obviously wanted to play around the rim. That's not how they're going to beat us in this series. And he admitted it was a very good strategy. So that's even more the reason why shooting is huge this offseason, because he's going to find the open man. He's going to get some buckets. And like he helped Miami on those runs, having good shooters is case in point. It is the key. And Kristaps Porzingis, who we go back to, if he's actually someone that they're targeting, and if the Siegel bomb actually proves to be true, then he can shoot if he's healthy. But if Jimmy Butler is healthy, I would not expect a major rapid drop in his game, despite Father Time being undefeated. He doesn't rely on that insane burst. He's got the old man's game, the IQ, the passing, things that are beneficial even when you lose a step. So I think this upcoming season, he's going to be just fine. You're going to get most of the same Jimmy Butler that you had last season. And that was someone that when the stakes were its highest, he could give you 25, 8, and 7. That was the missing piece you were looking for last offseason. You got that missing piece. You don't need to get sexy with some of these names and start talking about Kevin Durant. Although, I mean, you can't make the money work. There is some strange reality where maybe pay cuts are involved and a super team's formed, but the realistic possibility of that happening is legit 0.0000, maybe 15 zeros, and then a 1 after that. So realistically, you're not getting some big name superstar unless Jimmy Butler is involved in that deal, aka a Giannis deal that somehow would come to light if Giannis were to request a trade. But aside from that, it's going to be the Jonathan Kuminga move that is going to allot you your most expensive and probably your best complementary player to what you already have. Now, is that $30 million for Porzingis? Is that even in the realm of possibility, or is that amount too expensive in the first place to even get done? And then the whole injury factor comes in, and that's obviously a pretty big part of this, to say the least. To go out and get someone that played 42 games and has a CVS receipt of injuries over the past 10 years or so of his career. All right, let's continue the show. It's all things Steph Curry coming up. How he and Joey Votto, I guess, formed some similarities over the years. And also Steph Curry named to the second team all NBA squad. Who else joins them? That's coming up on Locked On Warriors. All right, so second team All-NBA for Steph Curry. First of all, congratulations. Could not be more deserving of Curry deserves everything he gets at the end of the day and joins an elite group. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and LeBron James is the only guys over the age of 37 in NBA history to be named to an All-NBA first or second team. Steph Curry joining the likes of, but the list is pretty good on the second team, to say the least. Anthony Edwards, LeBron James, Jalen Brunson, and Defensive Player of the Year, Evan Mobley. The first team, Giannis, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Nikola Jokic, Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum. And then the third team, some of the young guns, it's Cade Cunningham, Tyrese Halliburton, Jalen Williams, Karl Anthony Towns, and actually James Harden made the third team. Sneaky, really good year for James Harden, who is one of those guys that you can now add to the list of players over the age of 36 that in today's modern day NBA, whether it's the science, whether it's it's got to be the science and the nutrition, right? That allows them to play this late and be effective this late in their careers, where guys like Wilt, whoever it may be, dating back to the beginning of basketball, started to lose a significant step at this period. And that's what, again, makes you excited about Jimmy Butler once again having the kind of impact that he did a season ago, despite being another year older. Steph, that one worries you a little bit. Hamstrings obviously can be an overusage thing. This is the first injury of that sort of his career, and you would be terrified if this is something that became chronic, to where he had another one. And then a few weeks later, it led to something else. So all the wood in the world to knock on that everything's good. Again, it was just a grade 1. Those things happen all the time to the athletes at the local Orange Theory down in Pacifica next to the Taco Bell. Even to those people running 10 miles on the treadmill, every once in a while you'll get a strained hamstring. So grade 1, he would have been back for game 6. That is confirmed at this point. Nothing to be worried about long term there. But age is always something to be worried about because Father Time, I said it. He's undefeated. Eventually, he is undefeated. Just a matter of when. Just a matter of when. All right, so on to this Joey Votto, Steph Curry article. Want to get to some of the blurbs of these things because it's good stuff. It's basically an article about how important communication is in your workplace. And they compared Joey Votto and Steph Curry's career because Votto is a player that always had the work ethic. He had the routine that he did until it became boring. It got to a point in his career where he was legit. I mean, there was like a 5-year span where he just didn't pop out. Like he knew how to hit the baseball to where he would not pop out and knew how to put it in the right spot. He was better than the robot umps it truly knowing where pitches were. He was just a student of the game. But his big issue was just lack of communication. He came in, did his job, put his head down, locked into his routine, same drills, same swing, same results, but didn't really talk to anyone. Was a natural introvert. He said he was there to work. And because of that, he got this reputation that, whatever, he wasn't a leader, this and that. You couldn't necessarily rely on him as being that guy, even though he was on the baseball field. And then it completely switched to where he read a book and became very communicative, and it changed his career in the sense of how he dealt with the fans and the media and how he was perceived. And Steph Curry put those two things together from day one. We've always known the work ethic. We had Festus Ezeli on the show, and it was just like, Steph's built differently, man. The way that he works and the routine that he has, he's just a machine in that sense. But the communication part that took Votto so long to kind of get down to really round out the his game, because that's part of it, right? Is the leadership skills. Curry's had that from day one. some of the examples that they had, and there was one that happened this season, but some of the examples that Curry, that you can tie to Curry about understanding this is Glenn Robinson III, when he joined Golden State in 2019, it says that Curry greeted him with a handshake, offered him a list of churches in the area. Curry asked one of the staff members about his daughter, how the basketball season was going for the daughter. And, basically was just going above and beyond to staff members that some players would just brush right by, that would say what's up. He takes that extra minute to ask them a few questions and to really get to know them. And it helps the workplace environment from everything we've read. There was a time where he knocked on his teammate Quinn Cook's door and walked in with Steak and Shake. They ate burgers and talked till 4 o'clock in the morning, a little bit more than 4 minutes. Quinn Cook said he just had relationships with everyone. So this is why Steve Kerr has always said that Steph, aside from just the player that he is an incredible leader towards this franchise, is just the communication skills that he has and the improvements that he's made over the years. The science of conversation and the art of being ourselves is one of the books that a business school and author of a recent book professor basically wrote about Curry. And there was one this year that I wanted to bring up, the idea of connection. It was after a game, like early, probably February, I'd say, maybe January, before the Butler trade, where Quentin Post was basically stranded after the flight and was getting ready to call an Uber or whatever. And Steph Curry said, "No, get in my car, man. Get in my car. I'll take you the opposite way. We'll get you to where you need to be." They talked in the Uber. I mean, Steph may have even taken him over to Steak and Shake and gotten more burgers. I don't know. But from everything we've heard, this guy it's not from everything we've heard. We've seen it as people covering the team, as fans that are there every single night. Like, this guy's just a man. And we are extremely lucky to have him in the Bay Area playing at the level that he has and continuing to be an all NBA caliber player, second team all NBA. So if today's show taught you nothing, it's that the Warriors still have a second team all NBA guy that is the leader of the locker room and that is the king of communication and is going to do his part in helping the younger guys mesh into the system. He's going to do that. And then you have someone like Jimmy Butler that's selfless in terms of the way that he plays, right? You can make the argument with all the things that have happened throughout his career, whether it's all the way around. But in terms of the way he plays, he likes getting other people involved. So the Warriors have to find some more players that can help Butler out in that regard. When he's stuck in the lane, but gets to the spot that he wants to be, in order to kick out for a three, someone's got to be there ready, and they got to be ready to catch and go, to catch and attack. And Moody was that guy for a little bit of last season. We saw it where he was very decisive. Playoffs came, and the stage did look a little too bright sometimes for Moses. But again, he just tore his UCL, if you haven't heard. So he's out with a thumb injury. We'll probably see him at the start of camp. Did that affect his shooting to end last season into the playoffs? Who knows? But one thing is for certain, Butler and Curry are the dudes. They're the dudes right now. You got them for 2 more years. How are they going to make this team better? Kristaps Porzingis' name is brought up in a long list of Siegel bombs during an offseason. Does that actually have any chance of happening? Would you, as a fan, want that to happen? All right, this is a bonus weekend episode. Just thought I'd throw out some content, say what's up to everyone. That's it for the show today. We will talk to you this week. Hopefully the solo shows turn into some guests and some co-hosts on here soon. But regardless, we're going to come out here and deliver the content the best we can in the most unbiased way possible. This is Locked On Warriors. It's free and available wherever you get your audio podcasts. Have a great weekend. Happy Memorial Day to everyone, and enjoy the day.